Okay, so for the 10 or 20 people who are watching this who aren't my real life friends and family, it's worth mentioning that this is the first video I've made that isn't just a Let's Play. So it's worth explaining who I am and what I'm doing. Basically, my name is Alex, and I'm going to be ranting about stuff in this series, or hope to make it a series as long as I actually find the time for it. It's worth mentioning that I will involve personal opinions in this video, as well as a few facts, of course. You're welcome to disagree with any points I make. However, I would actually appreciate it if you were to actually think about what I have to say and then come back with an intelligent response or retort. Criticism I am open to, but baseless insults not so much. So save yourself some time and don't bother if all you're going to do is call me an idiot. With all that out of the way, let's get on with it. So basically, for those who don't know, I am a huge fan of cartoons. I've always been a huge fan of cartoons, and I will always continue to be a huge fan of cartoons. I grew up in the 90s with Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney films, everything basically. And that hasn't really changed. I've always enjoyed them. When my siblings now, I get them to watch certain shows with me from the past and the present, and we enjoy pretty much most things that you would typically enjoy. There are very few shows that we actually disagree on. We mostly watch the same stuff, but when we do have a different opinion, we normally can come to some sort of agreement on, where the show isn't awful or sometimes it has merits. But there's one show in particular that none of us can really get. None of us enjoy it whatsoever. This goes for literally everyone in my entire family and my group of friends. Now you're probably sitting there bored wondering why I'm telling you all this, and I'm truly sorry, but it's kind of important to make you understand how much cartoons are a part of my family's life before I kind of reveal the fact that the one show that none of us can enjoy is actually Adventure Time. And the reason is it's shit. So I now realise the moment I've said that, there's going to be a lot of people who are immediately going to want to kill me because Adventure Time is massive. However, I'm not here to discuss personally right now why I think it's shit, because it is shit. I'm here to discuss why a lot of people who think it's great are in fact complete dicks. A lot of people give the My Little Pony fanbase shit for forcing the show down other people's throats, and okay, I'll admit that's kind of annoying, but I swear to God, I can't get away from Adventure Time. I've no interest in the show whatsoever, and yet it props up everywhere. And you might just sit there and say, well, that's because it's popular, because it's good. No, it's not good. It's awful. However, again, I'm not actually here to talk about the show itself. I'm mainly here to talk about the fact that fans are unable to explain the show. Okay, whether I like the show or not is completely irrelevant. What is relevant is if you go up to a My Little Pony fan and you say, why is the show so popular? Why do you like it? They can normally give you an explanation. When it comes to Adventure Time fans, I have seen no such effort. I have seen nowhere near as much effort. There is no documentaries, there is no interviews, there is no presentations, there is nothing. There is no, it's because of this and that, and because of the characters, and because of the awesomeness. It's always because it's funny, or because I like it. That's literally it. Like, one of my dad's workmates said he watches Adventure Time, and my dad was like, why do you like it? And the guy was like, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on half the time. I just watch it. And that, to me, is a typical fan. And that, to me, is also real bullshit. But I digress. The point is that I'm not here to discuss the show itself. I'm here to genuinely rant about this heap of shit I found the other day. Because, very briefly, here's the story. I once again tried to find some sort of, explanation as to why Adventure Time was so popular, because I once again, what was I doing at the time? Oh yes, I was listening to Two Best Friend Cast, podcast number 12, and it just wouldn't shut the fuck up about Adventure Time. They mentioned it twice throughout the podcast for quite a while as well. And basically, it annoyed me again because I've tried my best. I've watched the show quite a little bit, and I watched about 5 episodes, I think, and nothing. There's literally nothing. But the point is that you know, maybe I'm missing something, maybe other people enjoy something else, maybe there's a particular episode which I haven't seen, which explains a little bit more and actually has some sort of meaning to it. So I've tried my best to, instead of torturing myself by watching the show, but instead of that, I thought I'd try and Google it and find out if anyone else has actually got an explanation. The truth is, they don't. I literally Googled, you know, why is Adventure Time so popular, and no one else was asking the question, essentially. But I did find this, and it's a forum on IGN, which, to be honest, yeah, is a couple months old. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't go on forums very often. I really don't even bother going on even My Little Pony forums or anything, because I just can't be asked. However, I do read every now and then. I do read a couple, and yeah, I can't be asked logging in and making an account to reply to some prick, but I will read them every now and then, either laugh or, you know, try to not cry at the stupidity of the human race. So yeah, we finally come to what I actually want to rant about today, and that is essentially these morons on this forum. Now you're probably sitting there going, well, what's the point? Well, they pissed me off, so that's why, okay? It's a little bit why someone would even bother to comment to someone else on YouTube. Like 9 times out of 10, there is no fucking point, apart from to make yourself feel better or to try and prove something. The latter is completely pointless because you're trying to prove something to a moron most of the time. However, people still do it, and it's human nature to try and correct that which is wrong. So that is essentially what my video is about today. So let's get on with it, okay? So the story is that Regular Show beat a few other nominees for Outstanding Short Format Animated Program. The episode in question, I think, was called The Excellent Challenge, which is an excellent episode. I do fully believe that Regular Show is the funniest and best TV show on Cartoon Network right now. Not the best cartoon show on the entire, like, on air right now, but the best thing on Cartoon Network. I mean, its other competitors are Adventure Time, which we've established I hate, and The Amazing World of Gumball, which is even worse than Adventure Time. Kind of. It's arguable. They're both pretty damn terrible. So unbiased hatred aside, essentially what I want to look at today is what these people have to say. So, first of all, we have the guy who originally posted the picture onto the forum. His comment is, "Lol, rigged. I don't know who's being sarcastic, and to be honest, I don't really care. It's not really much of a comment." Moving on. So the next guy just says, "That makes sense because Regular Show is way better." Again, he's right. I personally think so, but at the same time, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, as long as they're not being a dick about it. And he's not really being a dick about it, he's just sort of expressing what he thinks, which is fine. Moving on. Someone else replies to that comment and says, "For real," which, yeah, great for you. There's nothing else really worth mentioning on this page for a while. And then comes this guy. He says, "It's a toss-up to me. I'm just glad one of them won." So again, process of elimination, I'm going to assume he's talking about, you know, Adventure Time or Regular Show. No. If Adventure Time wins over Regular Show, there's something wrong, in my opinion. Okay? So, the next guy with his really strange Totodile face says, "Never heard of it." These people really confuse me. There's this thing called Google. You have easy access to it because you're already on the internet on this forum. You could try Googling the TV show. That's what I did with Gravity Falls when I first saw someone post a picture of it. Because I said, "What's this?" And I Googled it. And I was glad I did because it was really good. You could try doing the same thing and then come back with an opinion. Or you could just, you know, comment "never heard of it" and look like a complete dick. I guess the latter is the most sensible option to this person. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting because this is pretty much the defining moment of why I want to make the video. Next to it we have this arsehole here with the most retarded looking picture of Homer from The Simpsons ever he could have possibly gotten from a still picture. And he comments, "Regular Show isn't even funny unless you're like 12.
Genius!
Okay. Can anyone else see where the problem lies with this comment? I think there's probably about 12 reasons why it's wrong, to be honest, if you look hard enough. But I'll address just a few. Okay, first of all, it's a cartoon. This should be blazingly obvious to anyone who has a brain, or at least part of a brain. But all of these cartoon shows, their demographic is in fact around the 12-year-old mark. So, if it's only funny if you're like 12, then fucking great, because it's for 12-year-olds. Secondly, the other nominees are all cartoons on the same level as regular show in terms of demographic. So you can sit there and you can argue until your face turns blue about intelligent humour. But at the end of the day, Adventure Time, if you're going to sit there and say Adventure Time has mature humour, I will fucking kill you. And that is not a joke, okay? Because you're talking absolute shit, and you don't even fucking deserve to breathe the same air as me. If you're going to sit there and tell me such bollocks as Finn and Jake are the epitome of mature humour, okay? Whether you like the show or not, don't you bloody lie to me. The next issue we face is the fact that regular show is just superior, okay? I've only seen a few Adventure Time episodes, but I will go out of my way, life and limb, to say regular show is just better in every way, alright? Now, okay, that's incredibly biased, and maybe I should just do a review of Adventure Time and watch all the episodes, blah blah. But I have watched every single episode of regular show, and if you have as well, you know there is something to the programme more than toilet humour, okay? In fact, I don't even think they have toilet humour, to be honest. A lot of the episodes, flat out, a 12-year-old would not appreciate for what it is, okay? They've parodied The Warriors, they've parodied several movies not even I fucking know, because my dad pointed them out when he was watching it, and I was like, I didn't even realise that existed, because it was made before I was born. And on top of that, it has some seriously good episodes where the characters either learn something or progress as characters. And those sort of shows are quite rare, to be honest. Maybe not, but a lot of them are just generally slice of life, and a lot of regular show episodes are the same, I will admit. But the fact that it actually progresses as a series, you have extra characters like Thomas being introduced, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't got that far yet, you actually have Mordecai finally getting with Margaret, and then you have a reason for Margaret to go away, and then Mordecai getting depressed, and you know, he's actually progressing as a character. The show is moving forward. It's not like The Simpsons where it just stays in the same little comfortable hole like forever, under the little comfy blanket of routine of every single day will be the exact same thing for however many years. Lastly, saying it isn't even funny is kind of unfair, because everyone has their own interpretation of humour. I don't find Adventure Time funny in any respect whatsoever. But then again, there's a lot of comedies that I don't find funny at all, like Mrs. Brown's Boys or Modern Family or anything. Pretty much 90% of American sitcoms I don't find funny. But at the end of the day, there are certain points in regular show that I could point at and say, if you don't laugh at that, I'll be very surprised. Not as an episode, but just as a good line or a good moment or even good slapstick. And I have challenged people to say to an Adventure Time episode to do the same thing, and they can't do it. You challenge someone to say what My Little Pony episode might actually convert them into understanding the show a bit more and appreciating it. Most people have their own personal episode that they will say, just check this out, and if you don't, it's not your cup of tea, that's fine, but this is an episode that shows the best parts of the show. For regular show, I would say A Bunch of Baby Ducks. For My Little Pony, I'd probably say Lesson Zero. But of course, everyone has their own opinion of one. I've not seen any forum mentioning an Adventure Time episode to convert people, because it feels like everyone fucking loves it already, or they just don't. Haters don't exist. I've never seen a hater actually be given a reason to possibly try and like the show. I mean, the whole My Little Pony movement, it's love and tolerance, and at least try and get the troll to try the show if they've never seen it or whatever, and they normally come back and say, I've seen it and it's shit, or they just lie in that respect. But some of them are telling the truth, I suppose. Adventure Time, no one ever fucking says this. There's never a comment saying Adventure Time shit, and someone coming back saying, well, have you seen this episode? It might change your mind. Doesn't exist. Never fucking seen it. I really would like to see someone do that. Like, someone could link me an episode and say, this episode might change your mind, because from what I've seen so far, what I've seen on TV, the episodes have all been absolute garbage. Moving on at last. Okay, next off we have the greatest reaction to never heard of it I've ever seen. Fantastic Rigby face. Nothing much more to say from that. The next guy says, regular show is awesome and all, but Adventure Time is da best. Or Adventure Time da best. He doesn't even probably put is because grammar is for idiots. Again, not being too much of a dick about it, that's fine. I guess, even though this is wrong. Okay, so the next guy says, regular show's humour is just a rip-off of Adventure Time's, but not done as well. Okay, so I could go into a massive rant about why that's wrong, but I really don't want to make this video too long. I will just leave it at this. The key difference between regular show and Adventure Time, apart from good taste and bad taste, if you actually want to go really deep into it, from what I've seen of Adventure Time, is that Adventure Time starts off making no sense. Regular show eventually makes no sense. Regular show starts off with actual relatable problems, like they break something, or they lose something, or they hurt someone's feelings, and then they need to try and fix it, or then they need to try and do the right thing. And then it gets a little bit insane and unrealistic. However, Adventure Time begins and you're already sitting there going, what the fuck is going on? There's no segue, there's no path to the randomness. It just starts off random. And that's the difference, alright? You want to get down to it, that is it, okay? Moving on. And then we have this prick again replying with the Simpsons thing, and he says, it's because people think they're hip and cool for acting like man children. LOL, it's so random. Okay. Again, your idiotic comments kind of make me think that the face in your picture of Homer is just the face that you wear while you write these comments. That's all I can imagine as I stare at it, is you with that face making these comments. Because you must be even more of a moron than Homer ever was. Because, okay, I never understood the concept of liking a show because it's cool. Because most of the time, liking a cartoon as an adult isn't cool. Spoilers for life. Most people frown upon it. Most people think that if you're an adult watching cartoons, there's something wrong with you. Because, hey, there kind of is, because you haven't truly grown up. And some people are fine with that, like me, and some people are like, no. Point is, you can't just sit there and make statements like this with no evidence whatsoever without looking like a complete twat. And that's what you've done. So you're a complete twat. Well done. Again, saying it's so random, and that's why the shows are all like familiar, like similar. Adventure Time, Amazing World of Crapball, and regular show. Again, the key part is beginning with randomness and then escalating into madness, because it's about the journey of how you get there. All right. There's nothing cooler than seeing a massive fight between monsters, but you don't just begin a monster movie with the monsters beating the shit out of each other. Or if you do, you normally have a flashback or a segue explaining it. And the reason for that is because if you just had an hour and a half of monsters fighting each other and doing super mega Kamehameha waves through the sky, no one would care. Okay? And that's the difference, alright? People care about regular show characters because they actually do things that people do in normal life. They get coffee, they get food, and do that sort of stuff. And even though there may be a talking blue macaw and a raccoon, they pretty much act human. So you kind of forget about it after a while. Like the first time I saw regular shows, going on a bit of a tangent here, but the first time I saw a regular show, I wasn't told to. I just found it on Cartoon Network when I was bored one day while eating lunch. And I literally just turned it on. I was like, what's this? And the truth is that it was the episode where I still remember it now. The very first episode I watched was the one where it was called Karaoke Night, and it just began, no intro. And I was like, okay, no idea what's going on, and it was just Mordecai and Rigby, and then so they didn't really remember what they'd done the previous night, and they go to the fridge and they pick up a recording of themselves from the night before at the karaoke party, and it's them singing and embarrassing themselves, but they think they're cool because, hey, they did it at the time and they think they're cool because they're idiots. But then they start singing bad things about their co-workers, so it's like, oh, they actually have a job. That's been explained, self-evident. And then they start singing shit about them in the song, so then they're sitting there watching themselves sing about them, talking shit about their co-workers. And there's your problem. There's the dilemma of the episode. Just immediately put in is that they can't let their friends see this because it'll hurt their feelings. And then from the entire rest of the episode, it's just them trying to weasel out of it, and then them trying to get it back, and then them going to the karaoke party with their friends, and massive fight scene. And I was sitting there thinking, well, I've got no idea who any of the characters are, and I don't really know what's going on with this animation, with the fight scene, because it was mental, but it was still enjoyable, and it was because I knew how they got there and why they were there and what was going on. But the other two shows, I've watched them both start to finish on random episodes several times, and not a fucking clue. So the point is that you can sit there and argue about it all day, and I'm probably making no sense to anyone who doesn't watch any of these shows. But you can sit there and you can say that things aren't realistic in shows, therefore they're shit for that very reason. But you're kind of fooling yourself, because the whole point of cartoons is that they are, fantasy, unbelievable. Even The Simpsons does things that are just ridiculous sometimes, and it was still good. So there shouldn't be about that. It should be about the substance of the show itself, and not about what's in it. I mean, because the thing is, Adventure Time, I don't like it because it's random, is a bit of a poor excuse, okay, for not liking it. I'm quite happy to sit there and willingly accept that there is a single human, and then there's a vampire, and a bubblegum lady, and a princess of a castle of candy people with a talking heart voiced by George Takei. That's fine, but you have to actually do something with the characters to hold my interest, okay? The fact that there's pretty colours everywhere and that isn't going to hold my interest for very long. I'm not an idiot, alright? So you need to actually have the characters say things that don't suck. You need to actually have dialogue that feels like someone got paid to write it. And that's the problem. I've never fucking seen that. I've never seen anything to do like that at all. Regular show, it feels like the characters are bumbling idiots, but they're very well written bumbling idiots. Mainly Mordecai and Rigby, of course. People like Skips are actually smart, and they feel like they actually know what they're doing. If you've actually watched regular show, you'd know that. These people, I swear to God, haven't watched enough regular show to actually say anything about the show. And you could probably make the same statement about me in Adventure Time. But again, I'm waiting for you to tell me that one good episode that might change my mind from thinking that A, Finn is a dick, because in the pilot, he was a complete dick, and in the random episodes I've seen, he's been a complete dick. Whereas in Gravity Falls, Dipper is a much more likeable child character. You look at regular show and you want me to give you an episode to watch, bunch of baby ducks. Just Google that shit, watch it. If you don't like it at all, then that's fine, but hey, there's evidence there that it's got good slapstick humour, an actual dilemma that escalates into complete insanity, and yet, the characters are still trying to do something that's good, and yet they're both still morons at the same time. It's just well written. There's a lot going on, is the point. Moving on again. There's just a bunch more comments of people saying Gravity Falls is better, Adventure Time is better, Regular Show is better, both are fine. End of the day, none of these people are actually commenting anything meaningful, because you're just sitting there saying one is better than the other. I can easily do that, and you probably could say I've already done that in this chat, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really accomplish anything unless you explain at all why one is better than the other. If you're just going to sit there and say both are awesome shows, you're just making a redundant comment, because that's kind of a given on a cartoon-based board. People are going to think the show is fine if they're a fan of it, and if they're not going to give a shit. Just saying it's awesome is not going to persuade many people to check it out, or that it's better than the other show. I'm not saying you should force yourself upon other people saying, like, oh, your opinion. You shouldn't force your opinion on other people saying, oh yeah, this is definitely better because such and such, and you're wrong. But I am saying that if you're going to make a comment about it being better, then you should probably explain why. Otherwise, people are just going to see you as kind of a moron. Then you've got someone who says Phineas and Ferb are better than everything else, or better than Gravity Falls at least. Again, I like Phineas and Ferb, but it is debatable. They are very different shows, to be honest. And then we have this guy with the chompy looking thing. He says, I'm actually angry. How does Adventure Time lose? Well, first of all, you obviously don't like Adventure Time that much because you didn't bother to capitalise it, even though it's the name of a TV show you love, apparently. And on top of that, what do you mean, how can it lose? It's just life, not something you think is the best isn't going to necessarily win everything. And likewise, sometimes things get good even though they don't deserve to be good. You can sit there and complain about it, but getting angry about it is just kind of pathetic because, again, like I walked into HMV on one of my shopping trips and saw an Adventure Time calendar and no regular show calendar, and that kind of annoyed me a little bit. But I didn't just sit there and stand there in the shop and go, I'm angry. Like, telling people this doesn't solve anything. The best solution is to, well, first off, I suppose, develop some taste because Adventure Time lost because it's crap. But the second thing is to, not worry about it so much, because if you like the show, then it shouldn't bother you what other people have to say. It shouldn't bother you about if it won an Emmy or not. I'm sure Adventure Time has won loads of awards it doesn't really deserve, but there's no reason for me to get angry about it. The reason I'm angry is because there's people like you making these stupid comments on these stupid forums, and I stumble upon them, and I just think, what the fuck is wrong with this human race? Am I actually a part of it? Because it doesn't feel like I should be if this is the level of stupidity we can reach. Okay, so then there's this guy who says, I think Adventure Time deserves it a bit more. The last episodes of late have been really good. They make you feel for the characters and do some really good foreshadowing and recalling I don't see in regular show. Okay, so I guess, again, this is my fault for not watching the shitty program. But, regular show does do that, I suppose. It has episodes where you feel for the characters. If you like it or not, then, if you've seen it, you would know, essentially. A lot of the episodes, I will agree, are, very, very standard and just hijinks and stuff. And there is very little episodes where it does focus on the feels. However, it does have a few. And if Adventure Time actually manages to make you care about any of the characters, then, again, well done, because I've not seen any of those episodes. And I just generally think they're all pricks. So, to be honest, right, I'm going to get this out of the way. There's one character in Adventure Time who I believe is somewhat good as a character, and that is the Ice King. However, he's very fucked up, so I don't like him as a character. But I will admit he has got some damn good, there are good ideas thrown in his direction, if that makes sense. Some dialogue that seems like it could go somewhere for a supervillain of his standard, and the powers and the palace and the design and all that seems like a good idea. The problem I have is that the rest of the world around him sucks, so it's impossible to actually give a shit. But it's essentially like putting the Joker from Batman into a 5-year-old's cartoon. You've got a good villain, but there's nothing else there, so sorry, I can't care. So if you're saying that the show actually manages to make you care about Finn and Jake, then can you please point to the very first episode where it does that? Because I'm not going to bother searching for it, because I'm lazy. I'm too lazy to even make videos on a regular basis. It's been ages since my last one. Why would I spend hours upon hours going through episodes trying to actually give a shit about the characters when, you're apparently making a statement that there was an episode where, or quite a few episodes of late have been really good because they make you feel for the characters and do some stuff. Can you point out those episodes? Because, hey, the early season stuff from what I've seen is just shit. So yeah, this guy says that Phineas and Ferb is okay, but it's a tad too repetitive. You would kind of have a case if it wasn't for the fact that most shows are repetitive. It's kind of the thing. Very few shows have an overarching plot line that changes things so drastically near the end. Obviously, something like Gravity Falls does, but most shows like Phineas and Ferb just follow the motions and end up the same as when they began, such as The Simpsons, Futurama, Powerpuff Girls, SpongeBob. Obviously, one of the biggest ones being My Little Pony. People freaked the hell out when things changed. When they stopped writing letters, people were like, "Oh my god, lack of routine! This is insane." And when Twilight got wings, everyone was just like, "Oh, it's the end of the show. That's it. Goodbye." So you can't say a show is bad because of it. Then again, you didn't, so I'll let you off. But I'm just saying that you can't say about shows bad because it's repetitive. Because most children's shows are, and it's for a good reason. Moving on. Next up, there's these guys saying that Adventure Time's better, and Adventure Time is fine, great, incredible, amazing, regular show isn't as likeable. If you say so, I see no evidence, but fine. Then we have this guy with the fry face, who probably... That's the expression I pretty much wear when I'm reading these things of disbelief. But, yeah, he replies to that prick from earlier and says, "Man, you are just full of fucking terrible opinions." And well done, my good sir. I couldn't really put it better myself. The only difference is that I made a video about him being a prick, and you made a comment about him being a prick, and yours took less time, so you're probably more intelligent than me. The next guy says regular show is better with the little arrow thing. Great, I guess. Oh god, a moron replies. He says, I'm sorry I'm not a man babby with the sense of humour of a 12-year-old. Grow up. Yes, because grown-ups do this. Grown-ups make these kind of comments where they insult people for baseless reasons. The guy said you have terrible opinions, and it was kind of warranted because you made a stupid comment, and now you're going to reply with another stupid comment. So I guess what we've deducted from this is that you're a stupid moron. There's not really much else to say apart from this guy's a prick, and move on. What episode was nominated for each so we can end this debate? Very interesting question. I'm actually intrigued. Although, to be honest, it does not fucking matter because the Adventure Time episode I most likely will not have seen. This guy says in reply about regular show being not as likeable and stuff. He's the guy earlier who said about Adventure Time deserves blah blah. He was sucking his dick. I was like holy balls when they brought back Abe Lincoln on Mars from the original pilot episode, which again I have to admit I've seen. I've mentioned this earlier. I've seen the original pilot episode and it was garbage. I had no idea what was going on or why the hell we suddenly went to Mars with Abraham Lincoln there. That was ridiculous. So you're like, yeah, I'm glad they brought back that shit. And then he goes on to say, and you know Magic Man is going to have that picture they referenced twice come back as an episode for why he's a jerk. And obviously that's going to mean something to an Adventure Time fan, but not to me. So this is interesting because you mentioned the Abe Lincoln thing. That is pretty much the level of randomness where you've gone so far that you can't actually any longer give a shit. Okay? Because if it's in your script that the main character suddenly has some sort of a flash where he's talking to Abraham Lincoln on Mars for no apparent reason, there is something weird going on with the show. And the fact that that was in the pilot and it somehow managed to get an entire series based off of it, never mind a fan base, it is baffling in the first place. Now, again, I've discussed this earlier about randomness, but you can't just have randomness. It's weird, but you just can't. Because otherwise people will just think, what is this big massive pink elephants on parade level of insanity? So yeah, I really don't have anything else to say on that apart from that's bringing back a reference from something that was shitty is still shitty. Fry then goes on to say, I know his name isn't actually Fry, but hey, I might as well call him Fry. We'll have him Fry and Homer. Fry says, yeah, you're something so much worse. Which, okay, now we're just getting into a internet fight. Everyone get your popcorn. But honestly, out of the two, Fry is the one here making comments with actual capitalization and within reason. He has a reason to think this guy is an idiot because the guy has proven himself an idiot. And the guy goes on to prove himself is even more of an idiot by saying, oh noes, some dweeb doesn't like me on the internet, what shall I do? Now, okay, the internet is serious business, but seriously, I've never understood these people. If someone doesn't like you on the internet because you're being a prick, laughing at them for you being a prick to them and saying, ha ha, they actually care about what I think, I don't care what they think, just makes you an arsehole. Like, you obviously have no empathy for anyone else, you obviously don't care about anyone else, and you obviously don't even deserve to have the piece of technology you're using to browse the internet. Because you're so undeserving, because you're such a selfish piece of shit. And I don't understand why the hell these people even exist. Why, if it was illegal to be a prick, these people would be dead. If I was in charge, they'd be dead. That's just the way, I'm just going to leave it at that. Moving on. This guy says, Adventure Time has gotten so dull this season while regular shows just gets better. Much deserved. Now again, I can't do a direct comparison, but I can admit regular show has certainly not gotten any worse than it has. I definitely have to say though that this is a bit weird because there's some guy earlier on said Adventure Time had gotten better. Now this guy's saying it's gotten dull, which suggests he was a fan and now he thinks it's getting a bit boring. So who's telling the truth? Now, you could just put it down to opinion, but it's really weird for someone like me because most people who I know who like regular show don't think it's gotten particularly better or worse, and I think it's just generally kept going the same as it was, and it's just as good as it always was, and it's not gone. It hasn't done The Simpsons yet and gone shit. However, if you think Adventure Time's gotten dull, then that kind of says something. Then the other guy says, Adventure Time has gotten so dull, blah blah. Reply to that comment, the guy says, lol, no. Wow, what amazing feedback. That solves everything. See, the guy said it's gotten dull, and the other guy replies and says, lol, no. Which means that it hasn't gotten dull, and the guy's wrong. And the reason for that, and the reason he's wrong is lol, no. Pretty self-explanatory, don't you think? In case you don't get it, I think this guy's a twat, and he really needs to work on explaining things. They all do. All these people need to learn on how to explain their opinions, as opposed to just playing fisticuffs with each other like 2-year-olds. Moving on. Some skeleton dude. Adventure Time is better in my opinion as a show, but regular show is funnier and could be more entertaining at times. Both are fantastic though. Okay, so he says regular show is funny and entertaining, but Adventure Time is better. It's better because as a show. It's better as a show. Okay, maybe I'm just being a moron. I don't really understand what that means. Are you saying that it's not funnier and it's not more entertaining, but it's still better somehow? In what regards as a show is it better? It's not better in comedy and it's not better in entertainment. Are you saying it's got better characters or a better story? Because what the fuck is the story? I don't get it. I'm sorry. I really don't even know where to go with this. I can't really understand what you're suggesting. Because from what I've seen, Adventure Time doesn't have a story. What is Finn's quest apart from to do stuff with his sword and his dog? Apart from to go places. I mean, from what I've seen, from the few episodes I've seen, he's gone on adventures, and that's what he does. Does he actually have a goal? Is it some sort of a holy item he's after? Some sort of... Samurai Jack is after a time machine in his storyline. This is blazingly obvious. What is Finn after exactly? What is he doing? Does he have a quest? Regular show is about living in the park and just trying to get through life. Finn and Jake, what are they doing? Can someone please tell me? Because if it's better as a show, there must be something better to the story than they're just dicking around. Because I can't really accept that. Moving on. I will say that regular shows improved a lot of late. It started out really funny, but then kind of got repetitive. Every episode you know they would break some rule of the universe or go too far with something, and then supernatural shenanigans would ensue. Recently they've done a better job of actually developing the characters, which in turn has made the predictable format of the episode still seem fresh. So you've explained why regular show is good. Adventure Time's still the best though. Well. Way to go ahead and make everything you just said completely redundant. Great fucking job. So seriously, you can't just sit there and say regular show's improved, but Adventure Time's still better because it is just because it's better. That's just bullshit. This is absolute. Like, this defines why I hate the fans so much. Because you ask why they like it, and they just say it's good. It's not good. It's shit. There's your counter argument. Okay, you say it's good, I say it's shit. You can sit there and say it's all entitled to opinion, but I can explain why it's shit. You can't explain why it's good, and there's probably a reason for that. There's probably a little voice at the back of your head saying, I'm not really sure why I like this. I think I'm just really fucking bored. Or maybe I've just got a massive hard-on for magical dogs and swords. I really do not understand why these people defend it so much when they don't actually understand it at all. I don't understand why you would defend something you don't understand. You can admit why something good has got something you like has got flaws and isn't perfect, and you can admit why something you don't like has actually got some good merits to it. What I don't understand is why you take something you apparently like, but you can't say anything good about it whatsoever. Either way, that's just, again, that's an opinion, yeah. But seriously, I challenge someone out there to come up with an actual fucking reason Adventure Time is good. And don't just say it's good, alright? I mean genuinely come up with either an example episode or an example on like dialogue that makes the show seem better than just a 5-year-old TV show where it's just nothing but slapstick and insanity. Next guy with the picture of Flapjack from The Marvelous Adventures of Flapjack, or whatever it's called, which is also random as fuck, but has a few funny lines here and there, which only makes it slightly above things like Adventure Time. And he says, I'd say Adventure Time is much better. Regular show is pretty boring and the jokes aren't really that great. Not a bad show though, I'd probably rank it slightly under Chowder. Okay, two things with problems here, right? Number one, Chowder is a bit shit. Okay, so regular show beneath that, fuck off. Secondly, why is it that Adventure Time fans only praise their own show by insulting other shows? Like, no one is able to say that one show is better than the other without insulting the show that isn't Adventure Time. Like, no, everyone can praise regular show and still say Adventure Time is better, and people can also sit there and say regular show is garbage, but Adventure Time is still better because it's better, and they both have the same reasoning. And the people who say Adventure Time is worse than regular show do it by just simply saying that regular show is good because of the reasons it's good. They've actually explained it most of the time. But then people who say Adventure Time is better just do it by insulting regular show or whatever else show is on the agenda. I don't understand that at all. Surely if you actually like the show enough, you can explain why you like it. You can point to its good merits. The fact that you can't really says something about the show. And then what Fry saying about the guy dweeb on the internet, Fry says, feel like a failure. Now, I quite like Fry's comebacks because they're just pretty damn blunt to the point, but apparently they're wasted upon this guy's 2 brain cells, so it's almost sad at this point. Okay, now, here is one of my favourite ones. The guy who was originally posted the thing about the Emmys has posted the thing about Gravity Falls, the episode, and has made quite an interesting reply to it. He says, it's really impressive, thanks for posting this. I basically have no idea what Gravity Falls is. I didn't really want to look it up since modern day Disney tends to rub me the wrong way, but I guess I'll have to watch some episodes now. Okay, so by modern day Disney, do you mean directly Phineas and Ferb, or do you mean all the garbage they show? Because I'm not going to sit here and defend Disney. The only good TV shows they show now are Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls. But the fact that Disney tends to rub me the wrong way, do you mean it's the company or what? Because personally, I can't really see why you dislike a company just because they make some shit. Because if that was the case, then I wouldn't watch regular shows simply because Adventure Time exists, and that's just retarded. Because you're giving up a good show for no reason, apart from you just don't like the company, and that's not a very good reason to be honest. Anyway. He says, I watched both Emmy-nominated episodes to refresh my memory, along with many others. Excellent, which is the regular show episode, seems unusually well animated and visually interesting relative to the rest of regular show, or at least the season 3 episodes I watched before revisiting it. Can't say I noticed it personally when I watched the episode. I can't say I noticed any increase in anything. It was a good episode, sure, but I don't really think it's one of the best ones, and I certainly don't think it was the best of season 3. Either way, moving on. After watching it back to back next to Too Young, which obviously the Adventure Time one, which I haven't fucking seen, choosing excellent for an Emmy doesn't seem like too insane of a decision, but I still disagree with it. Okay, this guy, for once, out of everyone in this entire forum, has decided to explain why. So let's see what reasons he gives. Here's what bugs me about regular show. Number 1, the characters are very stiff and emotionless. Specific acting is very rare, if not non-existent. It's boring to look at. Adventure Time is much more expressive. Jake can shape-shift and contort himself, especially. Everyone occasionally makes goofy faces like these. Okay, so looking at these pictures, I want you to tell me if this is what makes a show good. Okay, because all I'm seeing is a bunch of really, really fucked up shit. Seriously, how is this meant to be a good thing? That they can make faces that make you want to... That you could easily post on Halloween and people would shit themselves with fear if they didn't know what the show was already. In fact, I know what the show is already, and they're still creeping me out just looking at them right now. Secondly, the regular show has plenty of animation for the characters, and I'm sure you could get some still pictures there looking a bit weird. So I'm not really sure what his point is. Is it the fact that it's not just enough to express an emotion with pictures and facial expressions, but you have to take it to 11 and go absolutely insane to the point where you don't look human anymore, or like anything you actually began to look like in the first place? Because I don't think so. I don't think that really is necessary. So, people claim Adventure Time's animation is better. To be honest, it rubs me the wrong way. I don't particularly like it. Finn looks really fucking weird. He's really weird. It's like stick arms and the weird hat. It just rubs me the wrong way as a character design. So you can sit there and say the animation's fantastic all you want, but fucking these pictures just creep me out. They do not make me want to watch the show anymore. And yeah, moving on. Point number 2. The formula got old by the end of season 2, if not earlier. Mordecai and Rigby get themselves into trouble by being slackers. Some over-the-top / supernatural problem occurs. They resolve it and everything goes back to normal. Again, this is called routine. Kids like it. Most adults do too. There are certain TV shows out there that which do the exact same thing, such as House and Fringe. They have a general sort of dilemma for the episode that gets resolved by the end with a slow progression overall in the storyline. If you're saying this is a bad thing, then you're a fucking idiot. Okay? If you want every single episode to progress the plot 50 feet forward, then seriously, if Adventure Time does that, you need to link me 3 episodes in a row where it actually feels like it's advanced. Because again, the episodes I've seen, like one of them they couldn't sleep all night because there was a cow outside. Where the fuck was the progression there? Seriously. Is it just me who sees this? Again, I wouldn't have a problem, because you are correct that they do fall into a routine, and it might become a little bit repetitive if you get bored easily and have the attention span of a gnat. But your argument falls flat when you're comparing it with something which is utterly shit. If you were just criticising regular show on its own, I wouldn't have too much of a problem with it. But the fact that you keep trying to say Adventure Time is better is what is really annoying me. Moving on. It has been changed up slightly in some episodes, but it's not enough. Even Friendship is Magic basically threw out the friendship lesson letters at the start of its 2nd season. In hilarious fashion, I might add. Perhaps regular show can't rely on more character-driven episodes because of the next reason. Number 3. The characters are boring. I don't care about them. Well, we have something in common, except you're talking about regular show and I'm talking about Adventure Time. We know barely any backstory, and then there's hardly any character development over time. Hello? There are quite a few episodes that do delve into the backstory of each character. There's the one where Muscle Man, you learn more about his father and his past. There's the one about Skips, where you learn about the fact that, he's been living for a very long time, and he's immortal now, and you learn about why he called himself Skips. I guess the only character we really don't know a lot about is High Five Ghost. And to be honest, Benson could do with a few more backstory episodes. He's had a couple. You find out he was in a band and etc. But I do admit we could do with a bit more. However, if you're saying Adventure Time goes into huge amounts of... well, let's move on. Continuity is limited to unimportant references to earlier episodes. There's occasionally a returning secondary character, which I'll give credit for. The only saving grace here is the Margaret Mordecai thing going on. Okay, so you're saying the occasional unimportant references suck, because they're unimportant. So what about that guy earlier going on about the Abraham Lincoln on Mars in Adventure Time? Was that unimportant? If so, what is important? Because that's the only thing he fucking brought up from the episode. Anyway, he spoiler tagged this, so again, if you haven't seen regular show far enough yet, then you might want to stop listening to this, although if you've gotten this far, then well done. Anyway, he says, Mordecai-Margaret relationship in the show, it seems like their status is always the same after each episode, that is, awkwardly sort of dating. They even had the chance for them to start smooching, but then Mordecai time-travelled in order to reset them again. In contrast, the whole PBFP their business involves important events that impact later episodes. There's also the Jake Raincorn thing, but that's not as exciting. Okay, so you're kind of right, but guess what? In later seasons they do wrap it up, which you couldn't have known now, but on the other hand, that's the whole point of regular show, is to keep you guessing about whether he actually was ever going to get with her or not. When he eventually does, it's really satisfying, and when he, spoilers, breaks up with her, it's really shit. And it sucks. Now, I do know enough about Adventure Time to know that Finn really likes the lady princess, what's her face, Bubblegum. But again, I'm really uninterested in Finn. He is the main reason I can't get into the show, I suppose, is because he is a really boring, idiotic character. The one episode I saw where he was trying to actually ask her out, he was just a complete wet blanket of a moron. I really never going to understand why he's a popular character. Moving on, point number 4. Regular show panders so much to 80s and 90s kids, and it bothers me. Great shows don't rely on references that will look extremely dated in 20 years. Okay, so the key thing here, the key word is rely. It doesn't rely on references, it throws them in there. It doesn't pander to its audience every 5 seconds. As I've mentioned before, it does reference a lot of things. But it's not like there aren't loads of episodes with no references in whatsoever. The show doesn't just parody references and that's all there is to it. Most of the time they feel like they're actually warranted as a reference and they're fine. Phineas and Ferb does the exact same thing. So if you dislike regular show for its pandering, you probably dislike Phineas and Ferb as well. And to say it looks dated eventually, well, what reference doesn't look dated eventually? Seriously. Like, loads of shows make references to things that will be incredibly dated. It doesn't make the show any worse, as long as you don't overdo it. And as far as I'm concerned, regular show doesn't overdo its references. It keeps them fairly in line, just like My Little Pony does. And if you're fucking lying if you're going to sit there and say Adventure Time doesn't have references to things, because one of the things people go on about all the time is references. I mean, I've mentioned before that people don't really normally say why the show is good, but one thing I have seen crop up over and over again is it has references to cool things that people might enjoy, like D&D related stuff, and it's like, that's great and all, but that's not selling me. References don't make the program. So I'll agree with you there, but you're just saying regular show is bad for this. You're refusing to point the finger at Adventure Time when it's the far, far guiltier person. The far, far guiltier show here. You can't sit there and say that regular show is bad for these reasons, that Adventure Time does when Adventure Time does the exact same thing, and then say Adventure Time is better because it doesn't do any of these things, when in fact it does. I've seen enough of the episodes to know that it definitely references things. And you can't sit there and make this point about regular show being bad for making references that bother you, when if you like a show that does the exact same thing. Number 5, the world is boring. Any world building is compartmentalized to a single episode where we learn some supernatural stuff that will never be relevant again. Adventure Time has a very interesting post-apocalyptic world that's being built up in little pieces. Now, again, you're right, regular show doesn't have a particularly interesting world because it's meant to be based off the real world. What do you want them to do? Go to China? Or Japan? They did go to Japan for one episode to parody Takeshi's Castle, which, oh yeah, fucking references. But, seriously, Adventure Time's world just freaks me the fuck out because it's just so insane. You say it's a post-apocalyptic world, but isn't that just meant to be like a theory of some kind, or is that being confirmed? I don't even know. I don't pay enough of attention. I pay enough attention to know the very basics. I don't pay enough attention to actually know it in detail as much as a fan would. But either way, you want to sit there and say it's very interesting. Again, you're going to have to link me to an episode where it does that, because as far as I'm concerned, people just ignore everything around them that seems really fucking messed up. I prefer a regular show because it's more based on the real world with unrealistic situations. I suppose that's probably the thing. Like, you could sit there and say Phineas and Ferb's world is boring because it's based in the real world. You could sit there and say Gravity Falls places is boring because, hey, they're in a forest and there's actual human beings and that's all there is to it. Adventure Time is so much more interesting because it's got crazy shit coming out of its ears. But, again, I don't see how that makes it a better series or a better show. You like the world. Great. Good for you. I don't. I think it's fucking weird. Does this prove any points? Not really. Number 6, Adventure Time's background music. And what? And original songs are 100% more awesome than regular shows or orchestral background music and licensed songs. Are you fucking serious? Are you seriously telling me that those songs are bad and that Adventure Time has got far better songs in it? Because I think you're lying like a motherfucker. Just seriously point me towards where are you seriously telling me that the songs in Adventure Time are better than what I just showed you? Because if you are, prove it. Not you personally, but just an Adventure Time fan has to prove it. Okay, what songs did they use in Adventure Time that were so cool? Because I'm not much of a music man, so I don't really care a lot about music. But the ones I have heard in regular show, the licensed songs, have been pretty damn cool. Okay? Besides, it doesn't matter because both shows are pretty shit music compared to Phineas and Ferb either way. You're gonna argue me with that, and then fuck off, because that series has got a lot of good songs in it. I think that's enough for now. It's too damn late for me to be writing things. I still enjoy regular show to an extent. It's still clever and funny at points. I just don't continually smile and have other feels like with Adventure Time. And I can't appreciate it at a technical level. So you can appreciate Adventure Time on a technical level, and you continually smile and have feels over the talking ice cream people. I really am struggling here to understand any of why that is. I genuinely am. Okay? At this moment in time, the thing about music is completely irrelevant, because that is just a matter of taste, I suppose. The thing about references, again, fuck off, Adventure Time does it. So that's points 4 and 6 out of the park. The better facial expressions is completely arguable, and also the pictures you've shown as example are complete garbage, because they just freak me the hell out. So that's point 1 gone. So your only valid points are part 2 and 3 and 5, to an extent. Now, number 2, you say about routine. I think routine is a good thing in TV shows, so again, that's redundant. Number 3, the characters are boring. Well, that's your opinion, because I think the ones in Adventure Time are boring, so that's redundant. Number 5, the world is boring. Again, apparently you're a very hard man to impress, because I think the Adventure Time world is so fucking out of this world that I can't really care about anything in it. I prefer my shows fantasy, but still down to earth to an extent. Okay? So, again, completely irrelevant. So, none of your 6 points make me want to watch Adventure Time. None of them convince me that it's better than a regular show. And none of them convince me that you are not an idiot. Although, well done for trying. I have to give you that. Good job. Moving on. More like Rigby'd. Great. Someone finally said it in reply to that prick who said that it's not funny unless you're 12. Considering these are children's cartoons, that makes sense. Finally. I wonder if the guy will reply. Fuck no, because that would be too much of an effort to actually, fight common sense. Some other guy with the weirdest picture in the entire fucking world says, I still don't understand all this hype with Adventure Time. It's an extremely juvenile cartoon that relies too much on randomness, even more so than regular show, and is primarily popular with adults for using a not-so-subtle adult humour that isn't that clever, and having a very Twilight-esque romance subplot which much of the fanbase seems to be obsessed with. By the way, I did not write this, even though it is fucking true. If the majority of fans were around 12-year-olds, I could understand, but the majority are actually adults or people in their late teens, and that just comes off as very odd. I would expect that by that age, many would have already seen far more refined or clever media. It's a watchable cartoon, but very undeserving of all this praise. Gravity Falls, on the other hand, while I dislike its usual self-jabbing humour, which by the way I don't really understand what he means by that, it is very well written, well drawn, and a very humorous shows with far more clever adult and kid humour, and is far more deserving of praise than Adventure Time. Its character designs are also way less simplistic and more expressive without coming off as idiotic or unrealistic.
Okay, calm down. I know you people are not capable of grasping what this is, but I can tell you exactly what this is. And that is genius.
Regular Show is not a very impressive cartoon, but it does prove to be perfectly enjoyable for kids and adults with far less simplicity, at least when compared to Adventure Time. And the adult jokes are actually humorous when compared to Adventure Time, which only seems to point out adult topics rather than actual adult jokes. Overall, it's better than Adventure Time, but neither are hardly groundbreaking or cartoons worthy of high praise. Now, I do agree that Regular Show is definitely not the best cartoon show ever made. It's... When you compare it directly to a lot of things that I used to watch as a kid, you probably just say, oh, it's nostalgia, but I do agree that a lot of the shows I used to watch in the 90s are just better. But he still goes ahead and admits that Regular Show has got better writing and more adult jokes. So, at the risk of sounding like a sheep here, I do completely agree with what he has to say on most of it. So, here's the key thing. This is what someone who, like me, has pointed out that Adventure Time is terrible. Do you think anyone's actually going to reply with a counter argument that actually is intelligent and makes sense?
You serious?
No, but we'll remain hopeful as we finish off this forum and try to find that one and good reply. Moving on. No, Regular Show second to Adventure Time. Wow. Your flame has certainly gone out by now. It was even lit to begin with. Juvenile response is expected from one of the biggest Adventure Time fanatics around. Pretty much. Regular Show is pretty shitty. At least Adventure Time seems to have fun with itself. Yes, because that's a fucking amazing counter-argument to that wall of text we saw earlier, wasn't it? Well done. You win the internet. Oh, wait, no you don't. I was being sarcastic, you dumb bitch. Moron earlier says, that's, in reply to, that makes sense because Regular Show is better. That's putting it mildly. Adventure Time is boring and retarded. Personally, I like Gumball the best. Okay, so you were doing well until those last 3 words. Gumball the best. If you'd said, I like shit, it would have been even better, because Gumball is arguably worse than Adventure Time. I haven't really talked about it much during this video, but just hear this. Basically, the animation is really, 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 really poor. And on top of that, they have live action stuff mixed in with cartoons. Some really creepy jokes that kind of make you go, ugh. And generally all the characters suck. So, it's the same randomness as Adventure Time, but in school for some reason, and to be honest, I probably hate it even more if it wasn't for the fact that Adventure Time has an even bigger fan base. Although I do admit hating a show based on the fan base is sometimes wrong. However, in Adventure Time's case, I'm making an exception because seriously, I'm sick of this shit. Moving on. Some shit, and yeah, Regular Show has really improved. I wouldn't put it past Adventure Time, but whatever. Yes, because Adventure Time is this glowing, amazing, awesome bastion of awesomeness that nothing can overcome. Why? Because nothing. No reason given. Error 40 found. Error 404 found. Reason not given. Regular Show panders so much to blah blah blah, as the guy mentioned earlier, and the guy says that's the best fucking part. I disagree. Best part about the show is the writing and the fact that it's 2 slobs who play video games, and most people like me can relate to that. However, the pandering does not go amiss, and I do agree that it's sometimes good. Some guys saying some shit, and it's annoying that they're dragging out the subplot involving Mordecai's relationship with Margaret. Well, that's because it's a major plot point. Also, Adventure Time is very guilty of this because it's also got a bunch of stupid love plots, which again, I've seen enough episodes to know that it exists, and I've seen enough episodes to know that it's boring. So if you're going to have go at that for being boring, because I'm going to stand here and admit Regular Show has its flaws, and Mordecai and the Margaret thing did go on for a very, very long time. And if they hadn't already tied it up by now, I probably would have gotten quite bored. But the fact they finally did tie it up kind of made it awesome. And made it worth it, sitting through before. The guy from earlier says, Gumball does have some pretty interesting and diverse character designs that put it above both in terms of animation, I suppose. No. I do agree that Gumball is probably, just as a character, slightly above Finn, but I also have to say that he's still a shitbag, and that the animation is still pretty damn basic. As in terms of character designs, though, is correct in the fact that some of them are quite unique, but again, there's a dinosaur and an upside down head, so at what point does it go from interesting to what the fuck is going on? Either way, moving on. They've made solid progress in regular show season 3. I think we're on season 5 as of posting this video, so yes, this has been a while. Or is it? No, we're on season 4. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't really care about the romance in regular show. Well, guess what? You don't have to care about the romance in regular show to enjoy it, because there isn't actually that many episodes that focus on it. A lot of the episodes, even with Margaret in, where they're actually trying to develop the thing with Mordecai, Rigby's still doing stuff, and there's still stuff going on in the background, and there's still actually a plot to it, even if it doesn't involve Margaret. So you can not give a shit and still enjoy the show if you actually try. Yeah, fucking random nobodies bumping old ass threads they found on Google. Well, excuse me, princess. We can't all be on the ball and current and find it immediately. Also, it's not the people replying here. It's not their fault that they found this shit on Google. And besides, how are you helping by fucking posting that comment, you moron? I'm really tired of this shit now, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Some share. Gumball is lame. It has no point of continuity. Adventure Time is better than both of these shows put together. You just said Gumball is fucking lame, and it has no point of continuity. Adventure Time is exactly the same, but somehow Adventure Time is better than both a show with continuity and a show which is pretty much on par with Adventure Time's shittiness. Do you have any brains at all? I mean, seriously, you're saying the pot can't do this because it's broken, because you prefer the kettle that's broken. I fucking... wow. Just don't even... I'm not even going to bother. Not even worth commenting on that one. Gravity Falls. No, it's extremely overrated show. Good, but nothing special. But this is coming from the guy who said Adventure Time is special, so why the fuck would you listen to him? Seriously, all he does is say that this regular show is a great program, just not as good as Adventure Time, and that's pretty much all he can say is praise Adventure Time, hail Adventure Time, love Adventure Time. And that's pretty much the end of the forum, apart from this one last guy who says bird bias, which he spelt wrong. And that's pretty much the entire forum wrapped up. So, in conclusion, there are dicks out there. And the only guy who made a warranted attempt at explaining why Adventure Time is better than regular show, again, he mainly relied on saying regular show was bad because X. And the one time he tried to say Adventure Time had actually been good going for it was animation. That makes me realise that maybe we haven't improved animation since the 90s. And the one guy who made a valid point about Adventure Time being terrible, did he receive a reply? Lol, nope. Anyway, in conclusion, I'm very sorry this game went on for so long. I will assume it's going to be much longer than I even think it is right now, so again, I deeply apologise. I hope you have somewhat enjoyed this, if possible. If you did, comment. Even if you don't even watch any of these programs, you just wanted to say what I thought and what you thought about what I thought. And I will hopefully make more of these if this one gets any attention whatsoever. If you have any random bullshit, either cartoon related or not, that you want me to tackle, just send us a message. Although unlikely as it is. Till the next random rant, goodbye.
Macho Side Victor!